Now, we turn to a deeply disturbing report from our southern border tonight. Now, Texas Senator Ted Cruz is shining a light on what he is calling the narco slave trade. Now, viewer warning, what you are about to see, if you have kids in the room, is incredibly graphic. 3, 2, 1.
These children come in debt to vicious cartels, thousands and thousands of dollars. And the teenage boys work for the gangs in every city in America. And the teenage girls experience a hell worse than that, with far too many of them human trafficked into sex slavery. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are responsible for the worst plague of slavery in America since the Civil War.
All right, joining us now with more is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, a while back on my radio show, I interviewed somebody that secured the border, one of the agents, and for 15 years he followed the sex slave industry that literally comes across our southern border. You've been now chronicling this in real time, happening at a much more accelerated pace than in prior years. What did you see?
It is horrific. It is a human tragedy that is playing out on our southern border. So 2 weeks ago, I brought 7 senators down to the southern border. I've been down there many, many times. It is the worst I've ever seen it. We've had over 3 million people cross illegally since Joe Biden became president. We went out, we arrived Thursday night. First thing we did is we went out on midnight patrol with the Border Patrol. You don't have to hunt for illegal aliens. Within minutes, you find them, literally within minutes. First group we found was 3 teenagers. We found them within about 4 minutes of being out there. About 5 minutes later, we found the second group. The second group was about a dozen people. It was almost all women and children. There were 2 little girls, both 7 years old. Both of them were unaccompanied minors. They didn't have a parent. They didn't have a family member. They weren't sisters, so they were unrelated. They were in this group of adults. The Border Patrol agents we were with, they showed us a patch of grass. It was about 300 yards from where we were, where 2 weeks earlier they had found 2 girls, ages 5 and 6, both of whom had been brutally raped right there by the drug cartels, and they provided medical care to these girls who were horribly injured by these violent criminals. This is happening every minute of every day. You cannot watch it. So on the banks of the Rio Grande, you see littered these plastic wrist bracelets. Virtually every illegal immigrant who crosses the border is wearing a color-coded plastic wrist bracelet. The color corresponds to how many thousands of dollars they owe the cartel. So you got to pay the cartel anywhere between $3,000 and for Chinese illegal immigrants, they're paying as much as $50,000 or $70,000 to come in illegally. And you have to pay the cartel. There is 100% operational control of the border. If you try to cross the border on your own, the cartel will kill you. And what happens when you cross over, the Border Patrol isn't catching these people. They go look for the Border Patrol. They turn themselves in voluntarily. They have a name and address of someone in the United States. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they are the last mile of the human trafficking network. So every city in America, you might think, I don't live in Texas. I'm not in a border state. I promise you, whatever city you're in, whatever state you're in, you are in a border state because Joe Biden is flying illegal immigrants to your state. And the teenage boys, they show up, they owe the Mexican drug cartels thousands of dollars. The way they pay it off is they work for the drug cartels. They're in the employ of these criminal cartels, and the girls have it worse. The girls, horribly, many of them, are trapped in sex slavery. And, you know, Sean, think about it for a second. Let's say you're a Honduran little girl. You're 15 years old. You're looking north. You're imagining life in America. You're imagining life in freedom. And you end up, your parents agree to pay the cartels, and you end up 6 months later working in a brothel, trapped, where every day you're in sex slavery, trying to pay off your debt. And it's like an old school plantation. They charge the girls for their food, for their room, for their board, for their air conditioning. They charge them $30 to cut off an ankle bracelet. And every day, whatever money they make, they charge them against them, and they're just trapped in hell. This is what Joe Biden and the Democrats are doing, and you cannot defend it. It's not humane. It's not compassionate. It is horrific and inhumane and evil.
And any adult traveling in a caravan that sees this happening with the cartels, their hands are tied. If they attempt to stop a rape, they will be murdered on the spot, correct?
Yes, and I'll tell you something the Border Patrol agents told me this time. It's something I've never heard before at the border. They described a phenomenon they're seeing now, which is what they call rape trees, which is the cartels take women over, girls or women, and in the United States, they violently rape them here. And then they hang the girls or the women's underwear in the trees. And so they're trees where they have dozens of women's underwear hanging in them. And it's designed to be, it's a trophy, but it's also taunting law enforcement. You can't stop me. And the maddening thing is we can stop them. We know how to stop this. This wasn't happening under Donald Trump. The reason this is happening is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris care more about the radicals and the open border leftists than they do about protecting the immigrants who are being murdered. Look, we saw in San Antonio a tractor trailer with 54 people who died of heat exposure, children as young as 13. 54 murdered. The body bags under Joe Biden are building up over and over again. We sat down, Sean, with ranchers and landowners. They showed me picture after picture of illegal aliens they find on their property, pregnant women that the cartels abandon and die. And it's over and over and over again. Last year, we had over 100,000 drug overdoses, fentanyl, flowing across the border. The body bags keep adding up. And the maddening thing is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Schumer and Pelosi, they could stop this, but they don't want to because it's not in their political interest.
They won't even show up. They won't go down and spend time to see for themselves. They haven't been there. I've been down on the border 15 times, whatever. It's sad what you're describing, Senator. I hope people hear, because Americans are dying, and those that are being told to come here are dying, and they're being raped, and many are being sold into sex slavery. And this can be prevented just by controlling the border. Senator, thank you for that.
Sean, it's worth focusing for a second on why Biden and Harris won't go to the border. Because if Biden went down to the border, the TV cameras would follow. What they are counting on is the corrupt corporate media refusing to tell people, look, your viewers know about the crisis of the border. If you watch CNN, if you're one of the 6 people in the country that watches CNN, if you watch MSNBC or the networks, you don't know this is happening. They're counting on the corrupt corporate media to disappear it. And that's why they won't go, because they want to hide this. This is indefensible if you see what they're doing.
Senator, thank you for that report. I hope people hear what you're saying. That evil is happening in our time.